So far, so good. Okay. I think we got it
Good.
right. I can hear you. You can hear me.
Perfect.
Good. All right. Well, let's just go ahead and start, and hopefully people will show up. So you're Diana Edelman. You're the founder of Vegan's Baby, which is like basically the website that we look at to help us with our social media for our restaurant group. We're like, this is the best. This is how we're supposed to do it, and then we basically copy you unabashedly every single day. So
I am so flattered. Thank you.
so tell me, what's your background? How'd you end up in this whole scene?
Oh my gosh. I'll give you the really short version. Was in public relations, journalism, quit all that, became a travel blogger, relocated to work in elephant rescue in Thailand, stopped eating meat, moved back to the States, decided I still wanted to be a blogger, wasn't traveling, went vegan, launched Vegan's Baby to document my going vegan and showing people that if I could go vegan, other people could, and basically focus on where they could eat vegan food, originally in just Las Vegas, because that's where I moved back to. So that was 12 years condensed into 30 seconds.
And so that allows you to just travel around the world. I mean, you're going to Africa, you're going to Singapore, you're going to everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
You're going everywhere.
Well, I'm going to South Africa in June. I'm leading a vegan tour I curated with Alluring Africa. So I'm taking, I think, 8 or 9 people to Cape Town and on a ethical vegan safari for 8 nights. And I'm so excited about that. But yeah, I get to travel around the world and eat and curate tours and like tell people where to go for vegan food.
So you basically were like, this is the coolest job that in the world that I could ever think of. And then you just reverse engineered that.
Basically, I was like, what do I want to do? I want to travel, I want to eat really good food, and I want to like be around people and guide them and help them go vegan. So yeah, I mean, so here we go. Here we are.
And so you create so you have these adventure, like this adventure tourism, and then you also have like it's also environmental tourism, I would argue.
I'm not really into adventure. Like, I know, like I'm working on a Kilimanjaro tour, but I'm not actually going on the Kilimanjaro tour. But it's basically like trips that I know. I think a lot of times people are held back from going vegan because they feel like it's too hard, and like if they travel, where are they going to eat? So basically, I'm just removing that from the equation and saying, hey, look, these are tours that I think you would like, and here you don't have to worry about anything; it's all taken care of for you.
That's insane. That sounds like so much fun. I would definitely be one of your customers. And so tell me about your consulting business in New York, or in New York, Las Vegas, like you're all over the place.
Well, the one good thing about social media is you don't have to be in any particular place to do it, really. So I offer social media consulting and management for restaurants and brands. I work heavily in the restaurant industry, obviously, because my background is food and beverage. And that's what I've kind of focused on the past 6 years since I launched Vegan's Baby. But yeah, I work with restaurants to help build their brand, build brand recognition and awareness, create content for them. I also just started with a food tech company that's doing really cool vegan seafood out of Chicago. So basically, like, I have my phone, will travel, and shoot all my content there, and then come up with campaigns and strategies to help restaurants and bars and brands succeed in social media and build awareness and get people in the door or spending money.
That's awesome. Okay. All right. So here's the setup. Okay. So the setup is that you've spent your life savings building your own bar. And so you have nothing left. You have no money. You have no, you just opened the doors. You're out of bandwidth. You're exhausted. You're tired. You're out of money, and you have to get butts and seats. You have a cell phone and nothing else. What do?
You make all your food, you make all your drinks, you stage a bunch of photos, film as much as you can, and then start putting it out on social media. Invite your friends, ask your friends to come out. I think there's no such thing as being too proud to beg. I've worked with plenty of brands that were in that phase where they're just like, I don't know what to do. Well, the first thing you do is you get your camera and you just start creating content and putting it out there. And then the second thing you do is you get people in the door. And if you have to give things away for free, then you give things away for free. But sometimes you have to give those things away to get people in and get that ROI.
What channels would you use?
I think Instagram for sure, TikTok. it's a necessary evil these days, but those are the two big ones, I think. Also, Facebook, I think we're moving away from Facebook quite a bit, but there's a lot of value in those Facebook groups these days, and you have to have a presence there. But it really is joining a lot of those Facebook groups. There's so many food groups on Facebook for every city. There's so many different niches. It's joining and like promoting your content through Facebook groups as well, because there are very active communities on those groups. But I think Facebook, TikTok, Instagram are your three big ones.
What kind of content are you trying to create, and what is important, what is not important?
Okay, what's important, I think, is video these days. And you don't have to be this phenomenal video editor. I have never taken a class in editing video. I have the fancy things on my laptop. I still don't know how to use them. But just take a little bit of time and get to know TikTok and the back end of TikTok and how to upload videos and edit videos in TikTok. And you want to shoot video. You want to shoot content that's bite-sized, like 12 seconds or less. Like there's a reason YouTube shorts are only 15 seconds, and the attention span is so quick. So you want to sell something as fast as you can in a really appealing way. So that's what you got to do.
All right, so you've made your food and you've pulled out your phone and you've taken a video, like a short 12-second video of your food. What do you say? Like what's appealing to people, to what would compel them to buy something or pop into your restaurant that day? Like, is it an offer? Is it the decor? Is it garnish? Like what do you look for when you're creating content that sells?
For me, what I look for is those juicy food photos, like a little bit sloppy, but like bright, vibrant. You always want bright photos. Make sure it's well lit, because the quickest way for me to scroll past something is if it's dark. You want bright, vibrant video. In terms of offers, they never hurt, but because algorithms are just so algorithmy these days, you never know if someone's actually going to see that content. So if you post something today, like come in today and get a free cocktail, I could be seeing it a week from now, and it's just, you're never going to know. So if you're going to do an offer, I would make it like a long-standing offer. But truly, I focus on food. Decor is great, but I would put that in the background, more of like creating a vibe and an aesthetic than like focusing on like how cute a place is, unless you're like the Christmas bars where people are going there literally to like sit inside Christmas. Like, unless your restaurant's super something like that, I would think it's more of a background. People can see that it's beautiful and they're going to want to come take photos and like just hang out in the vibe there. But that's not going to be why they're going in. They're going to want to go in because they want to see that dish, that the dish that they see on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, and they want to take their own pictures and they want to try it themselves.
How would people discover? How would you make it discoverable with your target audience? A piece of content, like how would you make sure that it landed in the right place, or at least attempted to make it land in the right place?
I think attempting to make it land is key, because these days with the algorithms, you just never know who's actually going to see it, and it's so like, especially like TikTok and things like that, like it's got to get engagement almost immediately for it to be on people's For You pages to show up. So I think the most important thing you can do is geotag. So geotag where you are. If you're on Instagram, TikTok doesn't let you do that yet. For Instagram, I would also tag relevant people. So like if, let's say, I'm just going to use Vegas because that's where I've spent the bulk of my time. So if I'm promoting a restaurant in Las Vegas, I'm going to tag some like the key foodies in Las Vegas that I want to see it. And, you know, I don't expect them to share it, but maybe they see it and they think, oh, wow, that dish looks really good. I want to go in, or something like that. Hashtags, I think people used to take a really focus on hashtags, and everything I'm reading these days is saying that like, yeah, they're there, they're good, but they're not going to be the things that are going to make you go viral. So I think it really is like, you've just got to get good footage, and, you know, hopefully that will get to the right people. With TikTok, I do use like location hashtags. So like for New York, I'll use like hashtag NYC foodie or New York vegan or something like that. So at least it's like getting into the people that are like scrolling in New York. So I think those are the best ways to kind of get your target audience. And there's also obviously advertising and boosting those posts.
Right. Do you do much of that?
No, I don't. Only because my audience is pretty engaged, and I don't need to. For a lot of the clients I have, they've got really engaged audience as well. Like, we've worked really hard to build brand recognition. So I've never actually advertised for a client. The only thing I've advertised for Vegans Baby is when my guidebook comes out to hit like the Las Vegas market, and then my tours, and that's just a tiny bit, and that's more to just like narrow in the demographic of who would be spending the money for the tours.
Okay. All right. So just to recap, so it's the first day that you're open, you're trying to get people into your bar. You have the chef make the food, you pull out your phone, you make a quick video that's well lit, and that shows something beautiful.
Yep.
And then you put that on TikTok or Instagram Reels.
Yep. Put them on both. Put them on both.
Would you use the same content for both? Would you repurpose it from one platform to another?
I do both. So like, for Instagram Reels, you can go a little bit longer than the 12 seconds, but I still try to keep them pretty short. So if you've got all of this food and drink content, what I would do is like, I would do individual videos for each dish. And then I would do like a mashup of like all the different dishes and things like that. Cocktails, I get like mixing the cocktail, pouring the cocktail, cheersing. So like basically you're creating these little stories in everything you do. So everything is a story. So if this is your first day and you've got the camera and you want the people in the door, you're going to create as much different content as you can with those things. So every video or every dish is a video, and then mashups can be videos. And also I must point this out that you should not be starting your social media account the first day you open. You should have started that account and the minute you knew the name of the restaurant and could get all the details.
So inspiration. A lot of times, what would you say to the bar owner who is just like, I'm not going to pull out my phone. I don't want to be embarrassed and pull out my phone and just shoot everybody all the time. What would you say to that person?
You have to. Like, honestly, if you're not going to do it, you need somebody to do it, because people are going to social media to look and see about these places. They're going to Yelp, and I personally hate Yelp. But if you don't have a presence on social media, then you don't exist in that world. And it's just very important these days. We are such a social media driven society that you have to have some sort of presence. You don't need to have stories every day. You don't need to have someone in there 24/7 filming content. Like with me, I take one day a month, and I will go shoot at a restaurant or shoot wherever I am. And that's the day we do all the content together. And then you've got enough content to last you a month or 2 months or something like that, depending on how often you're going to be posting. But you got to pull out your phone. And if you're not going to pull out your phone and shoot, then bring someone on who can and knows what they're doing. Because I think that the best investment you can make is in someone that knows how to shoot for social media.
Right. You've gone this far. Why not tell the world about it?
Yeah. You invested all this money. Keep going.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on your opinion of the decision-making process when deciding where to eat, especially in a very dense urban place like, say, Las Vegas or New York. How do people actually make decisions, and what is the process that they use to make decisions and where they're going to eat, in your opinion?
I make my decisions based on what the food looks like.
So you look at it and then you find out how to get it.
Yeah. Like for me, because I'm going out, I'm probably a little different than most, because like I'm going out and I'm writing about the food and I'm photographing the food and I'm telling the restaurant stories for Vegans Baby. I want to go places where I know that other people are going to want to go, and they're going to want to take photos and videos and do the same thing I'm doing. So I think that's how I make my decisions. Like, I will look at social media, and if the food doesn't look appealing, I would probably still go just because maybe I can get good content with it. And also I want to try the food. But I think for a lot of people, they're going and they're looking and they're seeing what these dishes look like. We live our lives on social media today. And sure, there's some people that don't have it, but for the most part, people have social media. You go out to a restaurant and you're going to see everybody whipping out their phone and taking photos and taking video and putting it up on their social media. It's just like you're living this aspirational life online. And so part of that aspirational life is like showing people the gorgeous, delicious, like photogenic food you're eating.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. We're so bizarre. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when life was not like that.
Right? You had your little flip phone typing in like 3 letters to get to the T to type, like, yeah,
I remember when I was a kid, I bought a pager against my parents' wishes, and then I used to set an alarm to make it look like people were paging me, because I was not important enough to be paged. And my parents didn't allow me to have a pager, so they didn't have the number. So
that was smart though.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
we've come a long way.
and sad, and very sad. Yeah.
I mean, we were teenagers. You want to just feel loved and special, so sometimes you get to yourself.
So, all right. So we talked about, so inspiration is everywhere. Like anytime you put out a dish, what about talking to your staff? Have you ever done like, engage like the staff that works in a restaurant to just kind of explore those stories, or is that not particularly interesting to your guests?
I think it depends. If you are building a restaurant if I like to see behind the scenes. So like in your stories and things like that, I think it's really fun to see your staff and your personality of the brand. Obviously, like you are nowhere without your business, without the people that work for you. So I think it's very important to like honor those people, and you can do that in your stories. I have one client where I feature the staff, like the photo of the staff member and their favorite dish, and they talk about why they love that dish. So I think it depends on how you're telling your story, but I think that in like the behind the scenes story portion of Instagram and now TikTok as well, that's a great place to kind of share that content. I feel like bars especially, you do want to focus on your staff. If you've got great bartenders and really good personalities and stuff, like you want them on your social media. You want them teaching your audience how to make a cool drink, or talking about the latest cool trends in smoking whiskey or something. So I think it's important particularly for bars to build that rapport with the customers.
Right. Okay. All right. So we got a question. So the question is how do you make your content stand out? And there is a sea of images and information out there. The feeling is that unless you see the same dish hyped by different sources, it doesn't register. What do you say to that?
Yes. I agree. You definitely do need other people to be posting it, but to make your content stand out, you've got to make cool dishes. You got to be plating things cool. You got to be taking cool photos. I think a lot of what I see these days on social media are accounts where the photos of the food are beautiful. They're gorgeous, but they're editorial. And so like, I'm not going to go to a restaurant and take a photo of the dish like looking down, because I know my audience isn't going to engage with that. It's pretty sure, but like what I tell restaurants is you want to have those cool like money shots. So if you've got a burger, like you want someone holding the burger, like holding it out like this, and you're squeezing it open a little and it's juicy and there's like sauces dripping down and stuff like that, or you want it to be different from the editorial, beautifully like plated with like lavender like strewn across the table. Like you want it nitty gritty, and you want it bright, and you want it just like I could see myself taking a bite of that burger right now.
Okay, so you're talking about like first person point of view, where they could like what they would actually see.
Yeah, like I think like the burger shots like that do really well. The noodle pulls always do really, really well. So things like that are great. Yeah.
You said
photos.
You said noodle pulls. That's funny. I didn't realize that there's a term for it.
Oh yeah, you get the 2 forks and you like pull it up. Videos of that do great. Photos of that. I think one of my most popular photos is a noodle pull that I took at Spicy Moon, and the lighting isn't even good, but for some reason people love that photo.
So it's like pictures of people interacting with the food.
Yeah, interacting is like cutting things open, like slow. Like I have one video I did with a client, and she's making beignets, and so she grabs a big fistful of powdered sugar and like throws it on the beignets, but I do it in slow-mo. So you see like the powder like slowly like billowing down on the beignets, and it's beautiful. So you want things like that get people like excited versus like here's a plate of beignets.
Okay, so that's like totally actionable right there. Let me just recap this real quick. So you're gonna pull out your phone. You're gonna make a TikTok. You're gonna edit to shoot. You're gonna shoot to edit, which means that you're not gonna like mess around with like editing afterwards. You're just going to make it to for what it's going to be, and then you're going to shoot the food being played with, like as in get your server or co-owner or investor, whatever, somebody to shoot you cutting open the burger and then holding the burger like this, showing people the burger, and then so that way they can imagine themselves being you having the
Yeah.
burger, and then that will be enticing. Likely enticing for them to show up and actually try the burger. Now, to Nama's question about how to make it stand out, and about how like other different angles. How do you feel about user generated content and social proof?
You need both of those. For user generated content, are you talking about like when an account takes content that they didn't film and puts it on theirs?
Or like when a guest tags you in a story of them enjoying the food?
Share it.
What do you do with that?
Share it. Absolutely 100% put it on your stories. If you want to take their content and use it, please, please, please ask. Don't just take content from someone. It's theirs. They own the copyright to it. It can get you in trouble on multiple social media platforms. Always ask for permission. And if you're reaching out to someone, like if you're reaching out to me or another content creator and this is their business, chances are you'll have to pay a licensing fee if you want to use it, because this is something that we created on our time, likely on our dime, and a lot of work goes into it. So to just give it to someone is kind of like, well, this is what I do for a living. But certainly ask. And if a lot of times people just say, sure, go ahead. If I've got a really good relationship with the restaurant, I'll just let them use it just because like we work together, things like that. But always ask before you post or repost someone's content on your feed.
Okay, well, here's another question that's in line with that thing. Like, so what is your take on influencers? And the question is, what is your take on influencers? Is it worth the investment? How do you pick them? What's a reasonable exchange for pricing? What's
100%.
What's a good investment?
It really depends on the audience. So 100% influencers have gotten such a bad rap, but there's people like me that work really hard and create really good content that's strong and like it's an ROI. This is my business. So you do need to have people like me in the restaurant, because we are telling people where to go eat and what to order. In terms of a fair price, it really depends on that audience. My rates are going to be different from someone that's super, super micro right now and just starting out, but has really good engagement. So it really just depends. But typically, like if you want to work with an influencer, any influencer that is professional will send you a deck that has their rates and their stats. I get, with the restaurants I manage, I have people DM me all the time, hey, I'd love to come in and shoot, can I just come in and shoot your food? I typically will say yes, but I also think that in terms of people coming in and doing that, it sets the stage for influencers like me that don't just come in and work for food. So you pay for what you get.
So what statistics are important for somebody to evaluate an influencer relationship?
Engagement. I mean, you can buy followers, you can have, and even engagement is kind of like iffy these days because there's so many ways. People have just figured out all these sneaky ways, like you can buy followers, you have engagement pods and things like that. But like you want to look at the engagement of the account you're working with. You also want to look at what they do outside of that. So for me, like Vegans Baby, I have all of these different social media accounts, but I also have a website, and my Google Analytics, my traffic for that is incredible. So you kind of want to gauge it on, well, what are these other opportunities for me? Am I just going to be on Instagram? Am I going to be on Instagram and TikTok and stories and Facebook? And is she going to upload something to YouTube Shorts? And then is she going to write about it on her website? Is she going to put me in an email blast? So it really is looking at the value of that. Any professional like content creator will give you all of their statistics for every platform they use.
Yeah, and these aren't magical statistics; they're verifiable, right? I mean, like
you can. I send screenshots a lot of the time. Like my deck will have like I can send or give you access to my Google Analytics if you want to see it. I can always screenshot anything you want to see. So yeah, I mean, you can make up numbers, but also if you look at someone's Instagram and you see they've got like 10,000 followers, but they're following 8,000 people, a lot of times it's people that, you know, you're following and then they follow you back. And it's just to build the numbers versus like people are actually following you because they find value in what you're putting out there. And then it's also, so if you've got 10,000 followers, but you're getting like 10 likes a post, chances are like the person bought those followers or
Right.
something like that, because there should be some level of engagement. And right now, Instagram has gotten their algorithm. I don't know what's going on, but like the numbers across the board, every content creator I know, like the engagement levels have dropped drastically the past, like I'd say 5-6 months, as Instagram is kind of like turned into more of a TikTok. So it really is just kind of evaluating like, okay, the engagement might not be as high as it used to be, but like, is it meaningful engagement? Or is it just like, you know, people like doing high fives, like bots. I see bots all the time on clients' accounts where it's like a green leaf and a heart, and they comment that on every single post. And I'm just like, you're doing that because you want me to follow you. And it's just, you know, a good rule of engagement is you could have an account. Like I could run a restaurant, but if I'm not commenting and engaging as a human being on other accounts, like my engagement won't be as good on mine either. So I take time every single day with all of my clients, and I will go through and engage with accounts. I'll look at hashtags, I'll look at their followers, I'll look at people who engage on their content and have meaningful engagement on their posts as well.
Yeah. What I'm taking away from this is that like it's a job. It's not just a part-time job, it's a full-time job. But if you were to do it yourself, you know, you can do some damage, but like you can do some good positive work and get some good positive ROI on your time. But it is a job, and it's like, what kind of commitment is reasonable for marketing your business that you're potentially have your life savings invested in? I mean, how much of your time is reasonable to spend marketing that business?
How much do you want to see a return on that marketing on that revenue?
Right.
I think that, you know, you at least want to spend 30 minutes a day engaging, whether you're on the subway coming in, you know, you're sitting and you're bored. You want to spend time engaging with people. The content you're creating itself, I mean, it takes time. It takes a lot of time to go through and edit down TikToks and find music and come up with captions that like, if you think that you're going in, go ahead.
But it's a skill that you can get good at, right? I mean, it's not you don't have to, it's not like a STEM field or something like that. You can practice it and get good at it.
You're not doing brain surgery. You know, look at accounts that you like and see what they're doing and see how they're shooting their photos and see how they're shooting their videos and go for it. I think part of that also is making sure your dishes look good. Because if your dish doesn't look good, no matter how many different angles you shoot it or film it, it's not going to look good.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily about that individual. Like, I mean, of course, your focus is on the guest when they're sitting down and eating with you. But what they do with their camera is also extraordinarily important for after they've eaten. I mean, we get like in our group, we get reviews at like 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, and it's because people are we want the life of the food to last much longer than the actual dining experience. We allocate 45 minutes, an hour and a half, depending on the restaurant. And it's just, you know, it's like, it's got to last. If it's going to last longer than that, then you have to hope that people take pictures of it and show it to other people.
Presentation is so important. I've worked with clients before, and their presentation of their dishes was just awful. They're putting it on ugly beige plates with a lip around it, so you can't get like really up close photos because there's going to be this lip around the food, or they're just like throwing sauces on it and like, oh well, here's a piece of basil I'm just going to throw in there in the middle of and it looks terrible. So you have to put some thought into the way you're actually presenting these dishes, because people aren't going to put something up on their social media that doesn't look good.
Right.
And they're not going to take photos of it. And they're not like, if your dish is on an ugly plate with a lip and it's just like thrown on there, then like, I'm not taking a photo of it. As a customer, I'm not taking a photo of it.
Well, let me just share a report that I read a couple days ago about how people make decisions, and I wanted to get your thoughts on this.
Okay.
In the old days, they would buy on brand, then they
Mhm.
would look at the menu, and then they would look at the item on the menu.
Mhm.
But now, in our hyper curated, me first and everyone else, and the Amazon generation, it's like they think I want to buy. I'm hungry for this, and then they find the menu that item is on, and then they ultimately land on the brand.
Yep.
So it's like, if with that understanding of how the decision making process is evolving, especially in bars and restaurants, that will hopefully live online somewhere. How would that position the content that you would create?
I mean,
How would you position? How would you select which content? How you create your content for that decision making process?
I mean, I'm just creating content based on what I'm given. So let's say we'll use Ladybird as an example. So I went to Ladybird the other week for brunch, and I literally asked the server what their most photogenic dishes were.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm working backwards. Okay, well, these are your most photogenic dishes. Well, okay, so I want those, because for me, for the content I'm creating on Vegans Baby, it's got to look good.
Mm-hmm.
But I think no matter what you're doing, like, knowing that let's use vegan grilled cheese. Like, I'm always looking for like a good vegan grilled cheese, and like so if I'm going and like looking on Instagram and doing like a search for vegan grilled cheese or something, like I want to see like an ooey gooey cheese pull, because vegan cheese doesn't really pull. But if you can get an ooey gooey like cheese pull out of that vegan grilled cheese, or like you stack them on top of each other and like the insides look so good, like that's what I'm looking for. And that's what other people are going to look for too. They just want photogenic. And then, they're going to look and see, well, it's photogenic, but does it taste good? And then they're like, oh, it's at Ladybird. Cool.
An ooey gooey cheese pull.
Oh, yes.
I feel like if we were going to start a band, I feel like that would be the name.
I think it's good, yeah.
All right, Matt, I'm going to unmute you. I don't know how to do this. Hold on a second. All right, we're going to try that. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, Matt, what's your question? Okay, so another question is, can you give us some insight on how to grow your audience, presumably pretty quickly?
Create good content. Create good content and post consistently. Posting once a week is not going to get you anything. You want, even before you open your doors the first day, I want to be able to go to your Instagram and see a full screen of photos and videos. The best way to grow your audience is by doing what Instagram and TikTok like, which is videos. I'd say like 10 to 12 second videos are a great way to get out in front of more people, and posting consistently. Like, you want to be posting reels. I mean, in a perfect world, you want at least like 5 reels a week.
5 reels a week. Okay.
I mean, it's very, very hard to do 5 reels a week, especially if you don't have a social media like background, or you don't have a whole lot of different dishes, but you want to just constantly be creating and putting things out there. The more you put out there, the more you're rewarded.
Okay, I just wanted to point out that you said 5 reels, not 5 perfect reels.
Okay, perfect doesn't exist. It don't need to be polished. Do not, like, if I see a video with like words coming in and it looks like an advertisement, I'm gonna scroll right past you. Right. I want to see personality and character, and those super polished videos that's not what I'm looking for in reels or TikToks. Like, just
right. Authenticity.
Yeah.
All right, I got a question.
Okay.
How do you turn those followers into customers?
I mean, you're not going to be able to turn all the followers into customers, but you just have to put out good products. Make sure that what you're putting out there is good. Just the way you would have any diner come back to a restaurant, you want to curate the experience. You want to have witty conversation in the captions, or you want to have on-brand conversation. So if you're a smart ass like restaurant or bar, you have smart ass captions and you engage with those people. You message them and say thank you for your support and things like that. And then once they get in the door, you need to be able to deliver.
Yeah, I feel like people really underestimate the whole point of social media. The whole point of it is not to have a monologue. it's to have a dialogue and to have it, like the more conversations you have with individuals, like the more likely you are to get them to know, like, and trust you, which is the whole point. It's the whole point, is to get them to know, like, and trust you, because people don't buy things unless they do one of all three of these things: know, like, and trust you. And so you have to have conversations with them.
And I think that's what I think a lot of brands miss that point. They think, okay, well, I'm just going to slap this picture up, leave it. They get comments, they don't engage. They get DMs, they don't engage. Their people are sharing their content, they're not resharing it. Like, you can just dial it in, but you are not going to have any results by just dialing it in. You need to take the time, you need to take the effort, and you need to foster those relationships, and then they'll come in. You know, I've got so many examples of my restaurant clients where people are like, oh my God, that looks so good. Oh, have you been in? No, not yet, but I really need to. Yeah, oh my God, we'd love to have you. You know, let us know what you get when you come in, and talk to them, because they want it. People want to feel a connection. We are so just sitting here on our phones all day, blah, blah, and just having one-sided whatever. Is to have someone on the other end be like, oh, hey, like, you feel validated, you feel seen, and you know, that's all people want. So give it to them.
Here's, you know, it's funny. There's one thing that came across in our meeting yesterday, and we had a solo diner, and for some reason, solo diners are, I didn't realize this, but solo diners are like a thing with restaurant owners, and we were just talking about how to make them feel special, because one, not everybody wants to dine with anybody else. A lot. I like to go into restaurants by myself, and so how do you if you were communicating or trying to communicate with a specific, like, hyper niche of a part of an audience, like, how would you communicate? I mean, how are you communicating to everybody, or are you communicating to a specific person? Like, when you're creating a piece of content, who do you have in mind when you're creating that piece of content?
When I'm creating content, I'm thinking about, like, I'm focusing on, for vegans, baby, getting people in the door to a restaurant. For restaurant specific, it's the same thing. I'm not necessarily gonna hyper focus on like a solo diner, but there are times where you absolutely can be like, oh my gosh, look at this gorgeous table for one, you know, and it's beautiful, and you pop it up on your stories. Or you could say, like, you know, you could have beautiful photos and just put it in the caption, you know, like, now seating table for one, or something like that. Or like, bar is the perfect spot to, like, grab a book, grab a cocktail, and feast. So you can certainly hone in on that in your messaging. Does it need to be the focus of every single post? No. But you can absolutely, like, pop in a post every now and then, and certainly put it in your stories.
Right. Okay. So we had a question. Are there certain hashtags that you found generate more followers? And so, I mean, what's your hashtag strategy? How do you do research, like that kind of stuff?
So having a hashtag that generates followers doesn't exist anymore, particularly in Instagram. TikTok, it helps with their algorithm a lot more than in Instagram. There isn't a magic bullet for hashtags. I would say, like, Instagram, you really only want to do like 10 hashtags or less these days. They give you 30, don't use all 30. And then in terms of like, for SEO and Instagram, you want to put it in your caption versus in your comments, because then when Instagram is doing whatever they're doing with their algorithm, they'll see, like, so let's say I'm going to use Jarrell's Better Burger, and they do great social media, and they're a vegan burger spot in Soho. But so, like, if I was Jarrell's social media, I would put, like, vegan burger Soho within the caption somewhere, and then the hashtags in the caption, because when Instagram's going through and doing whatever algorithm it is, they're going to see vegan burger Soho NYC in the hashtags, and then push it out to whomever they're pushing it out to, that, you know, have in the past, like, look for vegan burgers in Soho, or like scrolling near Soho, or like similarly, like, looking at hashtags related to that. But there is no magic bullet anymore. I will say that with hashtags, you don't want to create your own cutesy little hashtag. Like, I don't know. I mean, I'm not even gonna make it up right now. But, like, don't create silly hashtags just to be cute. It's not going to get you anywhere other than, like, oh, you've got a sense of humor.
Which is, I mean,
people are searching for. So, but you also want to mix it up. Like, you don't want to put every hashtag in the hashtags you choose with 2 million. people using it. Like you could have a couple big ones, but then like narrow it down. So like I would do, for Vegas, I would do like vegan in Vegas, Las Vegas vegan, Las Vegas foodie, vegan travel. So kind of just like big and then niche. And then TikTok, it's the same, but use even less hashtags. Use like 5 tops.
Right, but the hashtags are basically like search keywords, right? And same goes for the subject. Is it also true for the caption?
I mean, I'll put in keywords in my captions. Like I'll take like the SEO that I know from like doing my website and being like vegan burger New York, or plant-based burger in New York, or like, hey, if you're a vegan foodie in New York City, check out this place.
Right. Okay. All right. We got one more question. So Zach is asking, where do you rank the following: likes, followers, or views? What generates more traction in your opinion? So basically, what's more important: likes, followers, or views? And what's the order that you put those in?
So when likes, followers, and views, views. That's a really tough question, because likes can be bought. They can be in engagement pods. Followers can be the same. Views is probably the most like concrete in terms of like working with someone. Like if you're going to work with someone, look at their views. But in terms of building your brand, it's engagement. So likes are good. Comments are good. Lately, what you really want to have people do is share your content and save your content. So if I'm looking at insights and I'm sending it to a company, I want to see how many shares and I want to see how many saves, because that's showing you that not only did this person see it, but they shared it with this person who could have shared it with these people, and they saved it. So when they're going back through later, they like, this post is going to last. Like, it's not just something people scroll by and like, keep scrolling. It's like memorialized in a sense. It's existing beyond just that post now. And that's the most important in terms of like working with creators. As someone that this is my business, when I'm looking at restaurants, I'm never going to judge a restaurant by the number of followers they have. Like for me, the most important thing is always going to go back to content. Like, what does their food look like? Is it something that I want to experience for myself?
So like
at all. I'm sorry, but
yeah. So likes and followers are like kind of a lagging indicator. Like they're just like they follow good content rather than making something more important.
Yeah, I mean, you could have 500 followers. You're making like the most incredible like looking dish. Something like that, you want to look and see how many shares it's got and how many saves it's got, much more than like, oh, well, 10 people commented, 20 people liked it. It's and saves that really is going to indicate whether or not that post was like strategic and successful.
Right. Oh my gosh. So strategic. That's a whole nother show in itself. All right. Well, before I let you go, how would you characterize your ideal client? Who do you like to work with?
I like to work with restaurants that like let me do my thing, and like, we're all good at something. So, you're good at running a restaurant, or you're a phenomenal chef. I know what I'm doing when it comes to like photographing and filming food. Like, let me do that. Especially when it comes to like presentation, like I really try to like guide restaurants in terms of like what I know will look good. So I'm looking for clients that like value where I'm coming from and my expertise, and work with me to like help them build this like strongest brand we can build and create the best content we can create together.
Amazing. All right. Well, Diana Edelman, thank you so much for lending us your expertise, and thanks for everybody who showed up to ask questions. These were great questions, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Is there anything else you want to add?
That's it. If you're a restaurant or a bar that needs help with social media, you could pop me a DM, Vegans Baby, or email me, diana@vegansbaby.com, and we can talk.
All right, y'all. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you, Jason.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.